Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Want to upskill in one of the most effective ad channels out there? With Acast Ads Academy, you can learn everything you need to plan and run podcast advertising campaigns completely free. Whether you're new to audio or ready to sharpen your skills, our self-paced courses fit your schedule and finish with an industry-recognized certification. So if you want to grow your expertise and stand out in a competitive industry, head to go.acast.com/academy.
Hello and welcome to the Psych Legal Pop podcast. This is a podcast where we talk about popular culture through the lens of an attorney and a therapist. I'm Brooke Brigham, I'm the attorney.
And I'm Tess Brigham, I'm the therapist.
And we are back for season 7 of Love is Blind.
Woo, yay!
One of our favorite shows. Been waiting patiently. So this season, they are in Washington, D.C. in the greater, what do they call it? The DMV, DMV area. Isn't that what they call it?
I don't know, but I mean, it makes sense. Like Maryland, Virginia.
Yeah.
Is D of the D.C.?
D.C., Maryland, Virginia.
Yeah.
So we had a pre-show that came out yesterday, I believe, where we talked about the different contestants and talked about the show. And now we get to see them all. And now it's equally confusing,
Well, what are your thoughts high level? Like, were our predictions correct?
Well, I don't remember. I mean,
you don't remember the predictions?
No, because when we went over the cast, it was like these little blurbs, about people. And we commented that there seemed to be this running theme through the women that, I've been dating nothing but losers and players, and now I'm ready to find a nice guy.
Yes.
And the men were sort of like, well, I don't know how to date, it's like,
yeah,
I don't know what to do. Or they were in two camps. It was either like, I don't know how to date, or, women are, I don't know, like too controlling or something. They're looking for, just someone who's just going to be like, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you get to the show and they start to couple up, you're like, well, I don't remember. The only person I remembered was Steven, the electrician.
Yeah.
He's just so different from everybody else.
And Ramses.
And then
he's different.
Marissa sort of stood out to me.
And Hannah, because I commented on her outfit.
Yeah. Well, and also she's the youngest one. She's 26. Most of these people are in their 30s. There are a few that are in their late 20s, but it's an older crowd this season, seems like to me. Which I don't know if that's going to make any difference. I don't know if people are any more mature or going to handle things any differently. But yeah, and again, I'm still trying to figure this show out, because we talked about how the contestants, they hang out during the day in those lounges, but they actually stay in a hotel. But people are in there like in their pajamas, and they're all eating breakfast together. They made sure to show a bunch of food. We're not starving these people.
Yeah,
know.
I'm so confused now that, I mean, I kind of wish we didn't know how the sausage was made, because now it's so weird, because you know that, right, that everyone gets engaged on the same day, that all the reveals happen on the same day, that that they don't sleep there. So what do you do if you have, like, what do you do if you only are connected to one person? Do you know what I mean? Or nobody. Well, nobody, you leave, right? And that's it. But like, if you only have like one person, how long are these dates? I mean, I assume as they go along, they get longer and longer. But then people kept saying like, hey, will you have a date with me later? Or, oh, it was so great to have a date earlier. I'm like, so maybe they're doing morning dates, afternoon and evening. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, they are. When they get down, see, I feel like the first couple days, everyone's meeting and they do this thing that's like a match. You know, you write down who you want to see the other person, and you have to match to get more dates. So I feel like the men and women who we never hear from, you know, who are just in the lounge as fixtures there just to talk to people, they probably have connected with nobody by the third or fourth day. You know, they're probably going on no dates. They haven't connected with anyone. So they just have to sit there and listen to everyone else's stories because they're contractually obligated to, I guess. Like those two sisters, Nina and Tara, we didn't see them on a single date.
Yeah.
Either one of them. So I guess they're just gone.
Sorry. In the earlier seasons, what I noticed that happened is in the earlier seasons, they would give us like a flavor of everybody.
Right.
I felt like in the beginning, we got a sense of everybody that was there. Who are all the options? And then it seems like in the last couple of years, they've really drilled it down to, we're only really going to show you people that you're going to need to follow.
Because I think it was too hard for people to follow. I could never follow it. I mean, these first couple episodes are always really difficult. It was easier this time because I had, you know, we'd taken the time to at least look at these people. And yeah, they don't mess around. They don't show people who either, you know, don't end up being proposed to or don't make it to Mexico, or, you know, we're just getting the core, you know, the core group of people. And another thing that, I don't know if it was Nick or Vanessa who said this on day one when they come in and they talk to all of the contestants, they say, in 4 weeks, you'll be at your wedding. And I'm like, 4 weeks? I thought it was a little bit longer than that. So that means that they're in the pods for
9 days.
Maybe a week. Well, no, that's impossible.
Because, hold on, because we hear, so today we didn't say this, today we're covering episodes 1 and 2. So at the end in the middle of 2, Taylor says, and when she's reading that letter to Garrett or G, for these last 9 days.
Oh, wow.
So that's 9 days. And I think that honeymoon trip is 4. Yeah, so now we're at almost 2 weeks. So then I think you've got 2 weeks at home.
And then you have to start planning your wedding like
the whole time.
The second week or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot. That's a lot to do in 4 weeks.
Yeah. It's a lot to do in 4 weeks. This is quite the experiment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So I don't know. It was funny. My feelings changed from episode 1 to episode 2. Episode 1, I was like, oh God, these men are terrible. I think because I saw less Leo in episode 2, maybe. And we saw a bit more of like someone like Steven and who are some of my other, you know, Bowden and Marissa and Ramsey's, like the more mature people. Things got a little bit better. Or he's Tyler and Tim and all of that. So, but
he's the worst. Out of all of them, he's bad. But, you know, I've watched ahead a couple episodes, and some of these guys, they turn out to not be like
as great as they seem.
As great as they presented in the past.
Yes. And again, right? Like, this is part of the problem. This is part of it, which is actually they should probably see each other much quicker, but it shouldn't be an engagement. You know?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I just think when they actually see each other and then they go to Mexico and there's all this pressure to be a But I don't know. There were a few meetings, where the face-to-face things that were real awkward. So,
Yeah.
you can tell there's more to come from that. But the weirdest thing about this first episode was how the men all sang "Ain't No Mountain High Enough," like in this coordinated, obviously coordinated karaoke, like, do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm a little. Can you hear dogs barking?
Yes, I can.
I am so sorry.
So one of the more odd things about this episode 1 was it opened with all the men singing "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" in a very coordinated way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, someone told them to do that, right?
You think? I think one person started and they're like, let's all join in.
I don't know. I couldn't tell. I mean, what are the chances all those guys like know the song? These are young people. I mean, I don't know. I think it was set up, but
I don't know. I thought it was going to lead somewhere. It was like, oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. Well, that was interesting. That was a first. Yeah.
So where should we start?
Well,
should we start with the most successful couple thus far?
Okay.
G and Taylor.
G and Taylor. Okay. Yeah. They were the first to get engaged, right?
Spoiler alert.
Well, if you're listening to this whole episode is look.
Spoiler.
If you have not listened to episode 1 and 2, then turn this off. This whole thing we are going to be talking about episode 1 and 2. Who gets engaged?
Mm-hmm.
What goes down? And then we'll try not to spoil anything beyond episode 2.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So Garrett's 30, right? I didn't write his age down. And Taylor's 29.
He's a physicist. That's all.
And she's a policy advocate, I guess, green energy. I guess, right? That's
energy policy. She's a chemistry major. So they each have like chemistry and physics tattoos.
Yes.
He has some sort of a physics theory tattooed on him, and she has some chemistry symbol, something.
Yes. So it's a match made in heaven.
Yeah. No, they're both real nerdy. And I mean, in a good way,
Yeah. Okay. So in the first episode, something comes up about her ethnicity. And did I miss a scene? Did they ever talk about it? Because I am so confused about what happened.
Well, they were just talking, and she started telling a story about her parents, and she says her dad's name. And then she says, oh, I don't want to say my mom's name because it'll give away my my ethnicity. And he said, well, oh, I hadn't even really thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
And really, it shouldn't have been. Then she kind of got insecure about it. And, it kind of got awkward, and he didn't care, but she obviously did. Like, it obviously made her uncomfortable.
Yeah. I don't know. I just kind of feel like, I don't know. He started talking about like, well, I don't know. There's just something about you, and that you were like, I'm asking myself what is she hiding and what's happening? And my thought was, I don't think he is intending to come across the way he is, but there's a little bit of like, okay, hiding. It was sort of I think that he kind of stepped into it because it was a bad example. I think he was trying to say something else. I don't know quite what. I don't think he was very articulate with it, but I felt like that was something that was a bit of an impasse for the two of them. And I kind of expected, next time I, saw the two of them together, that they would talk about it or have a conversation. And then they're just, all right, well, here's an avocado tree. And I'm like, God, did I miss a scene?
I don't know. I thought it was more her hang up, because when you go on this show, this is a very diverse cast. There are a lot of people.
They're very diverse
on this show. So I'm sure that in the casting, they said, hey, look, you have to be comfortable with dating anybody, of any race, ethnicity, whatever, because this is going to be a diverse cast. So that's a requirement. So I don't think I think she made it weird. And I don't know, it turned out to honestly be nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it was really nothing. And maybe she's just been insecure about that her whole life. I don't know.
Well, because Asian women are so fetishized so often that I wonder if she was trying to maybe avoid that, like not being seen as, I just don't want him to stereotype me or assume something about me. Yeah, I mean, it could be that. It was kind of an awkward moment. I was like, okay, again. So then, they're exchanging honey and avocados. So, I mean, everything's great.
Well, yeah, I love this. She gives him an avocado tree because it's the timeline under which she wants to have children. I guess it takes 7 years for an avocado to sprout from this tree.
God, no wonder they're so expensive. No wonder guacamole is so expensive.
It takes so long to grow an avocado.
I know. But
So
7 years. I'm sorry, Taylor. You're 29.
Yeah.
Honey.
You kind of shave a few years off of that.
And
Yeah,
so did Garrett. Garrett, too, was
Yeah.
like, let's talk about this timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, what can you say about them? They are just, a sweet couple.
Mm-hmm.
And what I couldn't believe was that she brought with her a box of love letters from between her grandparents. And she was reading them, and then she gifted them to him. And I'm like, whoa. Wait a minute. Don't give this guy who's at this point kind of still a stranger.
Yes.
Like your grandparents' love letters. What is happening?
Well, I have to believe that the producers must tell people, like, bring this, bring this.
Someone else.
What do you have?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure these producers went, like, asked them a million questions and were like, what do you have? And like, they did it with them. But yeah, I was like, well, I guess maybe she thought because they were very close to getting engaged, she's like, if this doesn't work out, I can get these letters back.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if they don't, she can just take her letters. She didn't turn them over to him because she can't see him.
Yeah.
Don't have any contact.
Yes.
So, and then that's when, don't they get engaged in that session?
No,
The love letters session?
It was the love letters. And then he kind of starts to get, oh yes, sorry. They do get engaged during the love letters. I was thinking of the avocado tree. Sorry. Because the avocado tree and all that, he starts to get a bit insecure and very anxious, and it was a lot of vulnerability for G. But the one thing with him is, because some of the things that he said, like, she said, what's our love story? He said, like, oh, we're like Shrek 2.
She didn't like that. So.
No woman wants to be Shrek, and then he kept calling her babe. Hey, babe. Hey, babe, 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 babe. I don't know. I like him, but
he's
a little, he's a little quirky.
Yeah. I mean, if you're referencing Shrek, I mean, he did explain himself about how, you peel off the layers and, but no woman wants to be like compared to Shrek.
Yes. Because even though he's not comparing her to Shrek, you just hear Shrek and you think ogre. So yes, that's a problem.
Yeah.
And so they get engaged, and then, big cliffhanger at the end of episode 2, right before their reveal. But I did watch the reveal. It was pretty cute.
Was the reveal at the end? Was it the end of episode 1 and then
end of episode 2
spilled over into 2? Or
no, it's end of 2 to 3.
Okay, so spoiler alert.
They see each other.
That's episode 3. Yeah. Well, they get engaged. They see each other. I guess we won't tell you how it goes.
Yes.
We'll save that for the next episode.
Okay. So where do we want to go now? Do you want to go to like Nick Dorka, who's been trying to overcompensate for this last name his whole life?
Yeah, that's an unfortunate last name.
It is, and a really unfortunate last name. Yeah. And I understand, I met this guy. He was actually like a leadership coach. I met this guy. His last name was Failure or Fail or something like that. It was like Fail or Failure. And but every single time he kept having to kind of like, well, when you have a last name like Failure, what else can you do but like be a leadership coach or whatever it is? So some of these last names are terrible, but it's like every single time you have to explain it. You know what I mean? You have to have like some kind of quip. And so I think this guy was teased for this name. And I think he's like put on this cool guy persona that's maybe not him. We don't quite know. Put on this cool guy persona. And he really turned everyone off except for Hannah.
Yeah. Now he didn't. So there was no triangle here, right?
No.
Well, Hannah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Hannah, she talked about how he sounded so smooth, and he did.
Yeah.
The smoothness of his game and his talk did not really match what he looked like.
Yeah.
I mean, not that he's not like
he's cute.
There's nothing wrong with the way he looks, but like I don't know. It just didn't seem to match. And I think we'll find that out.
The thing is it's a little bit like, hey, we can chop it up like a Caesar salad. And he had all of these little sayings and all of that. And so the other thing is we meet Hannah, who are these men that are rejecting you, Hannah? Like, so Hannah, I think feels, I can't figure out what her fear is. Like, she seems to be very insecure about her looks in some ways.
Her weight, I think.
Her weight. Yeah. But it's like, I'm looking at her going, okay, like, are men really rejecting you because you're like, I think she looks great. There's nothing wrong with her at all.
It's in her mind. She said when she was a kid, her mom locked the cabinets so that she couldn't get in and snack. She gained a bunch of weight during COVID. And then she lost 40 pounds recently. So, you can tell she's been, having weight yo-yo dieting, whatever issues all of her life. So it's her.
Yeah.
She's insecure. I mean, she's totally cute and, whatever. It's her. I think.
Okay. That makes, I guess I missed that. That makes a lot more sense now because I was like, what is happening here? But so I think because he was so slick and all the women, when all the women got back to that little group pod together, I think they all were like, oh God, this guy's ridiculous. And I think Hannah really kind of connected with him. And then they, made her doubt herself. And then I think, right, if she's so insecure about how she looks, if she thinks this is some kind of like F-boy, she's so fearful that he's going to be disappointed when he sees her.
Then she meets an even bigger F-boy.
Oh God, who but this F-boy comes across not as an F-boy. Do you know what I mean? He's an F-boy, but like he thinks he isn't. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he thinks he's this like cultured, mature man of the world.
Oh, so, are we moving on to Leo?
Leo, because he's part of this triangle.
Okay, we're going to talk. Okay,
yeah, he's part of the Nick Hannah triangle. So so Hannah is also because I don't think Nick is seeing anyone else, right?
Nick isn't seeing anyone else, and Leo is.
Everyone thinks he's weird. Yeah. Okay, so Leo and Hannah kind of hit it off. And Leo, oh gosh, through a series of unfortunate deaths, he inherited this art. He calls it an
art dealer.
Yeah, he says he's an art dealer. I wrote down the name of his someplace out of New York. It's called Capital Art Advisory.
So when I heard art dealer at first, I was like, oh, he works at like an art gallery. I thought, oh, he has no money. And then he started talking about it. And I mean, it's just crazy. Within 3 years, both his parents, his grandfather and his stepfather pass away.
Yeah. I
mean, it was all from cancer. And we'll learn too, there are so many parents here that have had cancer, MS. I mean, everything, every parent. It's like, what is in the water out there? What is going on?
Yeah.
Bizarre.
Yeah. So he, I guess he was raised in this world and he's got this Star of David necklace that he likes to, put out there. And, he really thinks very highly of himself. Like he's very, I don't know how to describe him. He's strange. He's always bragging about how rich he is,
but not bragging in the most annoying way that you can brag, which is, at first he was like, well, which made sense. The first time he said it, I was like, okay, I get it. Which is, he said, because I have this, because I'm fortunate, he won't say because I'm rich. He's like, oh, I'm so fortunate and I was lucky and this and that, blah, blah, blah. Because of that, I don't want to meet anyone who is only interested in me for my money. Get it completely.
Mm-hmm.
And I would understand why. But then wouldn't you kind of never bring up that kind of stuff at all? Like you don't want these women to know, you want them to pick you for you. So stop talking about it to everybody all the time.
That's the opposite of what he's contradicting himself. And so, so he has a connection with Hannah, but then he also has a connection with Brittany, who at first I was like, oh my gosh. I grew to like Brittany a lot more as the episodes went on, but like she looks like a Barbie doll.
Yeah. Very pretty.
Very pretty. She's
Botox lips.
She's, thin as a rail. She's got the Barbie proportions. Like, she has this really high baby voice.
But she says
she's basically been dating, athletes and rock stars, and she wants to be taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting that Leo is so interested in her.
But yeah, I mean, and then the money thing comes up, right? Because she was asking him about what do you think the percentages should be? Is it 50-50? Is it this? Is it that? And then, after that, it's interesting what she said to him, because then, of course, he reveals that he has money. So I'm like, well, this is dumb. Like, you've already told her. But then I think what she said was, if I wanted to marry just for money, I could have done that by now.
Right.
Like, don't flatter yourself, Leo, that you're the only one. Did you not hear athletes and rock stars?
Yeah.
Like, I don't need you to marry me if I want to be a trophy wife.
And they're both talking about baby names.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that conversation? That was weird.
Oh God, yeah, Blaze and
Levi,
and well, she liked the name Leo as a baby name, which I'm surprised Leo wouldn't want a child named after him.
Yeah,
he was so into himself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. And then the second time they see each other, like then in the second episode, Leo, he tells Brittany, basically he tells her, he's like, you were my number 2, but now you're on equal footing with Hannah. He doesn't say Hannah now, but now you're on equal footing. Now you guys are even. And so Brittany's a little bit like, okay, how should I take that? And that makes her cry. It's upsetting.
Yeah. Leo, he takes great pride in being in control of this situation and being in control of these two women. And as the episodes go on, he
will see it more and more.
Well, yeah, it comes out more and more, but then at a certain point, he really loses control and he kind of loses his shit.
Interesting. Okay. I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah, no, it gets better.
Yeah.
With Leo, it just gets to a point where you're like, oh my God, are you kidding me?
Yeah, at first I kind of liked him. Like the first few minutes, I was like, oh, he seems sweet and nice. And okay, comes from money, got it. But like, I don't want people to, I don't want anyone to marry me for my money, but I'm really wealthy. I'm really wealthy. I have a Rolex. I'm really wealthy.
Oh yeah. Meanwhile, he's in the men's quarters letting everyone try on his Rolex.
Yeah.
And talking about his Ferrari or what probably.
So, but back to Hannah and Nick, because basically Hannah breaks up with Nick because she's scared. She's like, I think I don't think she's wrong in that sense. Like, I get that she got a lot of pressure from the other women, but she's not wrong in the sense that he was not showing her who he is. He was basically doing what, he was doing what an F-boy does, which is, I'm going to say all the things that you want to hear, and I'm going to move this right along to get what I want. And, hey, just stay on course and, all of that. And I think that she got scared, and she tells him that I got scared. So she breaks up with him. He's upset. He leaves. He was going to leave the show, but she changes her mind before he gets on that plane. I think before he even left the center.
Yeah, it was still in the house. Yeah.
So, and then they meet up again. And I think we finally started to see the real Nick a little bit. I mean, I don't know what it's like as the episodes go on, but I think we're seeing a little bit more. I think Nick realized, like, oh crap, I put on, airs, and I need to be a little more vulnerable with her, because that's what I need to do. Because he was like, "You're my number one. I love you. I think you're great." Blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, that quickly.
Yeah, and he's the one who was the football player, and he kept talking about how he was a punter and a kicker, and a kicker. And yeah, he was just kind of bragging about himself a lot. The same way that Leo does, but in different ways. They're basically the same person with different styles.
Ah, got it. Okay. Things aren't going to work well for Nick. And poor Hannah's got a type. She does have a type, it sounds like. And
I don't know. She's so young. I mean, I don't know. When did she have a chance to develop a type? I don't know.
Well, and that's the thing, right? She says at the beginning that she quit her job to do this, to be on the show, which, okay, fine. It sounds like she wasn't happy at that job, which is fine. But 26, like, you have time.
Yeah. And, throughout this whole episode, I kept thinking about, there's all these apps. I don't think they're really helping at all, because people still seem to, I don't know, not be able to meet people. None of these people know how to meet people in real life. Like, remember back in the day where if you wanted to meet a guy, you had to leave the house.
Yeah.
And you did meet men at the grocery store, literally. Like, you'd meet them just out and about, like at a restaurant, I don't know, work. Wherever you were hanging out.
I'll tell you what the problem is with apps, because I figured this out a long time ago.
Okay. Tell us.
So this is the problem.
Psych Legal Pop will be right back after these messages.
Chicago, 2011. A cop is murdered. Police and prosecutors swear they have the trigger man. He swears he didn't do it. How far will each side go to prove they're right?
Like, it's just one bombshell after another, where you're like, what?
The story of a PlayStation, a brain-eating amoeba, and the relentless pursuit of justice. Off Duty, out now. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
In our day, right, if you were single, you would live your life, right? And you wanted to meet people. You would go to a bar, you would go to a party, you would go somewhere. And what would happen is, right, you would get to have 10 mini dates. Like, you get to meet people, you get to see what they're like. Is there chemistry? Is there a connect here? Because that's the thing. You cannot tell if you have chemistry with someone from that app. You've got to get in the same room with them. So That's the problem. So the thing is that you figure out the chemistry really quickly. You get to meet the person. You get to know enough about them to say, I want to spend more time with you. And you get a number or whatever, right? This is back in our day when you had to like call it a
Write down a phone number.
Write down a phone number at a bar or something, right? How we ever met people is just beyond me. But we did.
We met way more people than these women.
Yeah. So that's the problem is that the apps have created this thing where you are having all of these conversations, and much like at a party, but because the person's not right in front of you, people wither away, people disappear, conversations don't go anywhere. And so you finally, like the two people finally say, okay, we're talking back and forth. They may have a phone call or something. And then they say, okay, let's meet in person. The problem is that that's a tremendous amount of work to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem is you could walk in and sit down and realize this person's not for you in seconds.
And
that's
like
the thing.
Time wasted.
And then that takes time. And then a lot of people, especially women, will create these fantasies in their head because they're talking to them like, oh my God, isn't he amazing? Ba, 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 right? But you haven't even met him yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't know. So right. People either come in with a lot of expectations. They come in with a lot of expectations, or because this has been so difficult and hard, they come in with a lot of like, oh, God, not more. I think the apps, they haven't made this easier. They created more choices.
Yeah, more barriers.
And more barriers. And you just got to get a room with people. And that was like, yeah, you're right. And because you're at the grocery store and because people are talking to each other, you can authentically be yourself.
Yeah. And I'm going to really sound like an old lady now because when I've met so many men at the gym, at the grocery store, at Starbucks, wherever, because before phones, you just kind of sat there and looked around.
Yeah.
And you'd make eye contact with someone.
Yeah.
Someone would smile at you. And then they might come over and talk to you, depending on the vibe you give off and the energy you give off. That doesn't happen anymore because their heads down. They're buried in their phone. They're not looking up. They're not making eye contact with people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, And then these women, I don't know. It was because there's all these 30-year-old women like skewing older this season. They all seem so desperate, because they're like, I'm 36, I'm 30, whatever. It's like they're freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, I mean, I don't know what to say. Like that. They also talk about how somehow this experience of being hurt or things not working out with someone or having your heart broken are somehow unique to them.
Mm-hmm.
I just kept thinking like, well, welcome to life.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm like being a bitch right now, but
but I mean,
it's
listen,
just annoying.
None of my relationships before I met Steve worked out. Do you know what I mean? It's like, that's kind of how it works. And I always tell people, listen, you don't have to, you only need to meet one person, really.
Mm-hmm.
You only have to meet one. And once you meet that one, this little thing that you're doing is over. Like, and all of a sudden it'll be gone. But people, they get so like crazily focused on it. And, I don't know. I don't know if it's the apps, or I think also, thank God we're older, because I really feel for my millennial clients, to get married today and what it means to be like someone's bridesmaid and all of that. Like, I do think that like social media has made weddings like such a big deal and pictures. And then there's all these events that you have to do. Like, I think there's just so much pressure now for women because they're having to like, even though they don't know all these people, if you're scrolling through Instagram, it must feel like everyone's getting married, even though, just like random people. But
there is a time where, I used to go to multiple weddings a year, in my 30s and 20s and 30s. I mean, there is a season and a time for that, and then that kind of ends. But
if you're connected, because if you went to college, with social media, what I would hear from my clients is they would say they would just meet someone randomly at a party, and then your Instagram friends or Facebook friends, depending on your age, right? So what would happen is that you would amass hundreds of people that you follow on Instagram that are your same age. So what we saw were every couple years, every year there would be 3-4 weddings to go to, 3-4 people. I think what happens for these young people is they're seeing 50 weddings because they have so many people on their phone. Like, again, it's the choices in the volume. That's the problem. And really, once upon a time, umpteen years ago, most people would marry someone that lived within a mile of where they grew up.
Yeah.
That was very common.
Most people never moved more than a couple miles from where they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's the thing about the apps now. It's like, you'd never meet all these people, but still, who wants to go travel to go meet someone? I mean, it's like, unless you have a lot of money to be traveling and that kind of stuff. Anyway,
yeah,
I digress. Let's get back to these couples.
Okay.
I'm hoping they find love,
yes,
but I don't know.
Yes.
I'm not starting out.
Oh no, you shouldn't have. You see, you went ahead. You went ahead. That's the problem.
I can't help it. One episode just goes into the next. And
I know.
Then they hook you in within seconds. Crack. They just push a button. It's like, here's another dose of crack.
Well, the other thing too, Netflix, as opposed to all the other streaming services, the next episode comes really damn quick. Like, if you look away, it's like, boom, done.
No,
but
you have to be standing right there.
Apple TV, they're like taking a long break. They're like, well, we'll let you ponder it for a while. This is an intellectual show. Do you think you can handle another? I don't know. Netflix is like, you want it now, don't you? You want the juice. Okay, so who should we go to now?
Okay, so let's see. What other love triangle? Well, this isn't a love triangle, but this was the first couple who kind of came out fast and hot and heavy, is Ashley A. and Tyler.
Tyler, yes.
And so Tyler, he cries a lot.
Yes, he does.
Very emotional. He had, his mom was Serbian, and I guess his dad was Black. I don't think his dad is alive anymore, or maybe he wasn't.
He was raised by a single mom, so the dad wasn't around.
Not sure what happened, but the single mom, the Serbian mom's family kind of disowned her because she had kids with the Black man. And except for the grandmother, I guess, came along and helped raise them. But then she died of cancer.
Yes.
Another death. So he's, you scratch the surface and he'll cry.
Oh, yeah.
He's very vulnerable. And she's like a really good listener. She just listens to him. She's very empathetic. She's just kind of like listens and validates his feelings. Like, this is the best therapy he's ever had.
Yes. Yes. And that's the other thing too. Tyler is so in love with her. And I'm like, who are you really in love with?
Yeah.
Are you in love with her? Or are you in love with somebody who's willing to listen to you? Because I'm sure I've said this before, but one of the things that I always find so fascinating is that, with my female clients, they've talked to 10 people about every problem that they have. My male clients talk to nobody. Sometimes I am the only person they are sharing any of this stuff with. They're not even sharing it with their parents, no one, especially if you don't have a partner. So again, women, we have all the goddamn emotional labor all the time.
Yeah, of course.
So that's what it seemed like to me with a lot of these men. Like, a lot of them had been needing therapy and like needing to sit on a couch and start talking to somebody. And they're like, great, someone's here.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like with me with Tyler. It just seems like he's trying to work stuff out.
Yeah. And very similarly is this Tim and
Tim and Alex.
Same thing. Like, he's had a lot of trauma. He lost both of his sisters.
Yeah.
So he's crying a lot.
Yes.
Trauma dumping on her.
Well, and Alex, both her parents have MS.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
But they're not together. They're with other partners now. And like, one of the partners is really good, but maybe the other one wasn't so good.
Yeah, that's what she was saying. One partner was really good, and she saw like, oh, that's what I want. And then the other partner's like, whoa, ooh, peace out. I think she just sort of saw like, listen, I want to meet somebody who's going to take care of me when I'm sick, if I get sick.
Yeah.
How genetic is MS?
I don't know.
Is it
I
genetic?
feel like a lot more people are young people, like, Selma Blair and there's another actress. Oh, Jamie Lynn Sigler from The Sopranos.
Yeah. Well, and Christina Applegate.
Yeah, it feels like a lot more young women
Mm-hmm.
are being diagnosed with MS. So I don't know.
I think we're just able to identify it a lot more. These autoimmune diseases are so hard, and they're so hard to diagnose.
Yeah, some of them are obvious, but like Jamie Lynn Sigler, I would not know. She doesn't have the physical like mobility limitations like the other two do.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you wouldn't know.
But yeah, I wrote down for both Tyler and Tim. These two really like to talk. They really, because I feel like I've learned a lot more about them than I have about the women. For sure.
Yeah, maybe that's editing, but they're just letting it all hang out.
Yeah. Well, we did learn Alex's grandfather was the national secretary for the Nation of Islam.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I could. We got. I didn't get anything else. Okay. And then we go right into Tim talking about his older sister dying of lupus. It's like, oh, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Yeah. And was it Tyler who said that? Yeah. He said for the first time he feels safe.
Yes. That was the other thing too. He kept walking around. He was telling all the men, like, I feel safe. I feel safe. He said, I never thought that I needed this. I never thought that I needed or was looking for this, but this is what I feel. And again, I think what you really found was someone who's allowing you to be vulnerable with them, and you feel safe doing that.
Yeah, and you also have like 8 hours a day to just listen to them and talk. I mean, that's not the real world. You know, in the real world, women got to go to work. You know, they can't like listen to you talk for 4 hours. So,
yeah. So, yeah. I mean, and there's something also too, Tyler keeps calling Ashley A, like, my wife, that's my wife this, wife that. I don't know if she likes that or not, but it's really kind of like pissing around his territory a bit,
right.
You know, kind of like, I'm going to pee right over here so nobody takes up with Ashley A. She's mine.
Yeah, I feel like there were less love triangles.
Well, there's another triangle that we haven't talked about, which is Marissa and Ramses and Marissa and Bodan, which is they were introduced. So these are all the people that were primarily introduced in episode 1. So episode 2.
So now we're episode 2.
Yeah, we meet Marissa and Ramses and Bodan.
Yeah, well, and then Stephen and Monica.
Yes. Well, you want to start with Marissa?
Sure. Okay. So Marissa, they when we were doing the cast, previewing the cast, it said she was a lawyer. And here it says she's a law clerk. Maybe she was just waiting past the bar.
Yeah, she said that she's going to law school. I heard Ramses say that.
Well, then, okay. Maybe she graduated.
Oh, no, Bodan. Yeah.
So I want to like her. And she spent like 9 years in the Navy or something. I want to like her, but it's kind of like, she just seems ditzy to me.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm kind of surprised 2 guys are really into her. Not looks wise at all. She's very, very pretty,
she's very cute.
But more of she's kind of blah.
Yeah.
Like I don't get any kind of sense of her either way. And she should be. I mean, you're in the Navy, you know, you're a law clerk, you're becoming a lawyer. Like you have interesting things to say.
Right.
So why do you feel so blah? But I also at the same time feel like a lot of those conversations were Bodan talking and Ramses talking. Because again, I know very little about her.
Yeah, we don't know. Well, we know she dated a Trump supporter for 3 years.
Yes. So this is interesting because of any of the Love is Blind years, they're talking about politics.
Yeah, because
or they're airing it.
Yeah, Stephen talks about it too.
Yeah.
Which I thought Marissa. What? Okay. That was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then this Bodan, he just seems kind of like, I can't even remember anything about him. He's
35 and he's like, he says that he gets judged for people think that he's some kind of like frat boy kind of guy, but he was born in the Ukraine.
Oh yeah. He's the one who was, and then he went back to fight.
Yeah. So he came here when he was 2. His father died right after that. And then he ended up going into the Marine Corps and serving two tours of duty. And he tells a story about almost getting killed by a camel. You shouldn't fuck with camels. That's what's going to happen to you. And yeah, when the war broke out in the Ukraine, he felt very passionate that he had to go back and fight. And people raised money for him. And this is what made him cry. And yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, he seems like a great guy. I just couldn't, I don't know. He just seemed to kind of just didn't really stand out to me.
I think he's cute. I think he's like one of the cuter ones, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And Ramses is very interesting.
Yeah.
And he's a Cancer Leo, which Marissa's very excited about. Didn't you hear that? Was that this episode? They start talking about their signs, and each one of them are clearly into astrology. Yeah, I'm a Virgo, Taurus, Leo, Moon rising, and he's like, oh well, I'm a Sagittarius, Cancer, whatever. And then he says his rising sign is a Cancer, Leo, and she's like, what? You're a Cancer, Leo? Like this is like a.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know, but she was so impressed by that. And she felt like that was a sign, like that this is the guy for her.
Really? Interesting.
Am I going into episodes?
I think you are. I think you are. I think you are, Brooke.
But they did meet in episode 2, right?
Yes, we met in episode 2. I mean, there was an astrology discussion with, I think, Tyler. And Ashley, or Tim and Alex, because Alex said I'm into astrology and asked him about, and he really wasn't into it. But yeah, and Cancer and Leo are very different. You know, Leo is like the showboat, and Cancer, we're just kind of, sensitive. So I don't know what it means to be a Cancer, Leo.
No clue.
Anyway,
no clue.
But his life. It was very interesting because he says he was married for 4.5 years. He grew up in this very religious Christian home, and dad was very, very critical. And, he really struggles with that inner critic. And it sounds like he's had kind of this awakening kind of a thing. It sounds like he's kind of broken away from the church, maybe, because if you looked at him, you would never believe that he came from this religious background, right? You would just think his parents were hippies. Spirit.
Yeah.
And then they get into this whole conversation about healthy masculinity. And that I thought was, I thought all of that was really interesting because we were talking about in the pre-show how there's a lot of people connected to the military. And so it's interesting, like both men and women, but this idea of this kind of keeps coming up about masculinity and money and paying for things. And what does it mean? And what does it mean to be a man? And, we've got a lot of men crying. It's very fascinating to see this group.
Yeah. I know. I hadn't thought about all that together, but yeah, you're right. This whole show is kind of changing. The stereotypes. Cause that was one of the things that, Brittany says is that all the guys that she's talked to about money, they're all like, 50-50.
Yeah.
And she's like, I kind of want it to be a little bit more, on the man. Or I think she comes out and says she would like to be supported. And that's when Leo was like, oh yeah, well,
I'm rich. Oh wait, oops. Didn't we say that? Oops.
But I want you to like me for me, but I'm rich.
But yeah, I'm looking at the time now on my Rolex. Oops. I'm sorry. But I personally also don't think it should be 50-50. I think it should be based on what you earn.
The proportion,
the proportions. If you earn 3 times amount as what your partner does, you should be contributing 3 times amount.
Yeah.
That's, I don't know why does everything have to be so 50-50? That would turn me off if some man was like, no, we're going to split everything down the middle. I'm like, F you.
Well, and then also what happens if you have kids? Like someone else had this discussion about, was it Ramses? I think maybe it was, maybe it's in the next episode. But anyway, there's a lot of discussion about, okay, well then what if, is it, you have kids? Is the woman still going to be expected to, get the kids off to school and do all that labor and be the default parent and this and that? So there are a lot of discussions about these things in the pod,
Yeah.
which is different and refreshing. So.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, because listen, people get fired and one person becomes the breadwinner and then another person, again, has a baby. And so you can't sit there and go 50-50. You got to just be like, are you going to be there for me?
Well, it depends.
Are you going to show up for me?
Yeah. What's happening at the time? Who's making the most money? Who can take the time off? Who can't? You work it out, circumstances depending.
So the final couple is Monica and Steven, and they are one of our older couples. Monica's 36. And did you catch that very early in the first episode about one guy? I can't remember what it was. I don't know. Maybe it was Nick. One guy, because Monica said she was 36. And one guy's like, ooh, basically was like, oh, that's a bit older than what I was expecting or wanting or something. And she kind of just gave the guy a look like, I thought she was going to give him the finger. But she didn't. She just kind of like rolled her eyes. But Monica has met Steven, and Steven's 33, and he was in the military.
Think so.
And again, all I know about Monica is she's 36. Her mom is from Honduras, and her dad's Black. Everything else was Steven.
Yeah. I don't even remember what she does for a living. All I know is she was taking copious notes the whole time he was talking. She was literally like writing down every single word that he said. I think Monica's wound a little tight. And I'm worried about this couple because Steven is just like salt of the earth. It seems to me. I don't know. Please, let's not have anything dark and terrible come out. But I mean, he says that he emotionally cheated on one of his partners. And he felt so bad about that. He went to therapy for it. And he's still in therapy. And, he's kind of just like this big puppy dog. And it's like, oh, God.
So what did you think about the political conversation?
That
really
was very interesting. Where he said that he had voted for Trump in 2016, but that he
didn't like Hillary.
Because he didn't like Hillary. But he did not like how Trump behaved in the next 4 years. And so then he voted for Biden. It's like, wow, Love is Blind's getting political.
Yes. And it was interesting. What he said was, I wasn't the most educated. He says the first vote wasn't very educated. It wasn't an educated vote.
Yeah.
And it sort of forced him to like, I need to stop and look at this. I don't like this person, so I'm going to pick this person. I need to approach this in a new way. And it was very interesting. And it's interesting to hear. I think that what we hear when people talk about politics, and don't worry, people, we're not going to get too much into this, but like we hear such this, one side or the other. It's interesting to hear someone who voted Republican and said, okay, now I'm going to make a switch and now I'm going to vote this way. And why? I don't get to hear a lot of that from people about why they changed their minds, what changed for them. And I thought this was really interesting.
Because he said that his dad or, his family or whatever were Republicans.
Yeah.
And so he just kind of always went with the flow of that. But he didn't like what he saw with Trump. And
well, it's interesting too, because he talked about, I always identified as white, and he thought his grandma told him he was Italian. And then the sister did a 23andMe, and they found out that they had all of this background from West Africa.
Well, I don't know if I would call it all. It's like one of his parents is like 3/10 African or something.
3/5 Black.
Something.
I think dad is. Yeah.
So, but he was excited by that. And he tried to learn more about where his family was from and the culture and this and that. So, I mean, he's very open-minded. He's very, very open-minded. I think probably more open-minded than Monica. I don't know. I don't know anything about Monica.
Yeah. And that is a theme. Again, I think what we were talking about in the pre-show is right. Like that what we saw were like these women that are just so, been beaten down by love and life. And then all these men that are clueless. And what we've seen so far is a lot of men talking at these women, and these women, listening, comforting them,
listening. Yeah.
Making them feel better.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, I don't know. Could I ask you, because I'm curious about what your predictions are, but you probably already know some things about where things are going. So of like which relationships are going to be successful.
Well, I know who all gets engaged, and we pretty much talked about it. Like these are all the people.
Well, don't shh.
We didn't talk about a few people.
Okay.
But yeah, we didn't talk about the triangle, the Marissa, Ramses, Bowden. So that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And Stephen, I don't think has proposed to Monica yet in season 2, but we pretty much know.
These are all the players, basically.
These are all the players.
Okay.
Like, there's no other people come out of the woodwork. Like this is kind of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, I don't know. Because again, we don't really know these people yet.
Yeah. Okay.
They've been putting on their best behavior in the pods. It's very easy to be like this in the pods. But then when they show the scenes coming up, when they're in Mexico, seems to me like there's all kinds of crazy stuff happening.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can't wait for that.
If you watch the, I guess they don't really air it till the end of all this stuff, but I think a lot goes down in Mexico. And some of these people might not even make it to Mexico.
Okay. All right. That's it, Brooke. You can't say anything else.
Okay.
All right.
No more spoilers. But,
okay.
So we are going to try to catch up.
Yes.
And so we're not a whole week behind.
Yes.
We're going to try to catch up and maybe release another episode before.
Yeah, I definitely think
set comes out.
Yeah. So the next set comes out on Wednesday of next week. So, and then our show comes out on Thursday. So we want to catch up with that and be on that schedule. So I think between now and then, I think we should, we'll do another episode of doing like 4 to 6. Or 3 to 6.
Yeah.
So it's 4 episodes. That's what I was thinking in my head.
Drop that over the weekend or something.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we will have that out to you very soon, sometime in the next couple days or so, but definitely before Love is Blind is back next week.
Yes, we cannot, you don't want to get the spoilers.
Yeah. I mean, Brooke can barely contain herself. Brooke
I can't remember what happened in what episode. I'm sorry. I'm trying.
This is too difficult for Brooke. This is too much.
Well, it all just meshes together. But yes. I think it's going to be a good season.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Okay. All right. Well, take us home.
Thank you so much for joining us. If you like us and you'd like to support our podcast, there's a couple ways to do that. The easiest way is to just subscribe to the podcast. Just hit the subscribe button. You can also leave us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. You can also, if you want to get even more content, you can become a member of our Patreon, patreon.com. Just search for Psych Legal Pop Podcast. And you get extra bonus content every week, extra bonus content every month. True crime on the higher level, you get like a bonus true crime, ask us anything. And we're always kind of adding new things and thinking of new things. So check that out if you want more. And again, thank you. Hopefully see you next time for Love is Blind.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.
Howdy, howdy, ho, and welcome to Fantasy Fan Fellas. I'm Hayden, producer of the Fantasy Fangirls podcast and your resident lover of all things Sanderson.
And I'm Steven, your bookish internet goofball, but you can call me the Smash Daddy.
And we are currently deep diving Brandon Sanderson's fantasy epic, Mistborn. But here's the catch. Steven here has not read Mistborn before.
That's right, hey. So each week, you'll get my unfiltered, raw reactions to every single chapter.
And along the way, we'll do character deep dives, magic explainers, and Steven will even try to guess what's next. Spoiler alert, he'll be wrong.
Newsflash, I'm never wrong. Episodes come out every Wednesday, and you can find Fantasy Fan Fellas wherever you get your podcasts.
Say hello to Mia.
Hey there.
Mia runs a pet grooming service in Chicago, but getting new clients was rough.
Until I started using Acast. I recorded my ad, targeted pet owners in the area, and let Acast do the rest. Now people all over the city know about my grooming services.
Mia's business is looking sharp. What's your secret for happy pets and happy clients?
A fresh cut, a friendly vibe, and a well-placed podcast ad.
Get the word out about your business through Acast. Visit go.acast.com/advertise to get started.